Morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Tuesday, the 23rd day of July, 2024. I hope you're all safe and healthy today. I hope your family is safe and healthy and that the needs of you and your family in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the healthcare field, along with the first responders who every day are trying to save lives. Those also that pick up garbage to keep places clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women out here trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover the teenagers and children that are the victims of child molestation and pedophilia. People that are also victims of pornography, child pornography, prostitution, child prostitution, human trafficking, sex slavery. Double curses on the perpetrators of these things. Double curses on those who actually profit from these things. And double curses on all the perverts that create the industries and the demand for these things. Finally, double blessings on the homeless. Nearly 600,000 men, women, children, families, senior citizens, veterans, homeless in the United States of America, and millions around the world in similar or worse conditions. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. Today, I'd like to discuss the so-called, and I mean so-called, bench scoring problem. Last year, it was pointed out, whenever Jalen Brunson leaves the game, the Knicks have trouble scoring. Whenever Jalen Brunson leaves the game, the Knicks have trouble scoring. And we need to do something about that. This is emblematic of the short-sighted, knee-jerk, rash reaction of past Knicks regimes that they're not buying into now. And I'm glad that the Don is not buying into it. The long-term approach is the best approach. The development approach is the best approach. And the Knicks have used that to get to the point where we're now, of course, again, challenging for the Eastern Conference and for the NBA Finals. Let's go into some history. Again, because of short-sightedness, people don't look at history, don't analyze it to see where we are, especially during the regime of Leon Rose and company in the front office and Tom Thibodeau and company on the sidelines. So let's go to Tom Thibodeau's first year. Tom Thibodeau's first year was the COVID year. It was 2020, 2021. It was a 72-game season. And so a lot of games, a lot of players missed games because of COVID. It went through all the league. And so that's why the league started later. We had the summer before that, there was the bubble. And then that fall, the league started later. The draft was later. Everything was later because of COVID. So that year, Tom Thibodeau's first year, the starting five was R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, Reggie Bullock, Alfred Payton, and Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson only played that year 31 games. And then the starter became Nerlens Noel. So at first, the bench was Nerlens Noel, Alec Burks, Emmanuel Quigley, and Obi Toppin. That was your bench. And they were very effective that year. And that's why I coined the term for them, MobbDeep, because it was led really by Obi Toppin and Emmanuel Quigley, two rookies, and then you had Alec Burks also. Now, later, as you went on, as I said, now, then your starting five became Barrett, Randall, Bullock, Noel, and Payton. And then you had Obi Toppin, Emmanuel Quigley, Alec Burks, and then Taj Gibson became the five-man on MobbDeep. And they were, again, very effective. They would actually save a lot of games for the Knicks that year. Oftentimes, they would outperform the starters, which is why I called them MobbDeep. So that was your bench. And so going into the second season of Tom Thibodeau, it was established. You had already now Obi Toppin was a bench piece. You had Emmanuel Quigley. They were actually now in their second year, and they were leading the bench, okay, for Tom Thibodeau. Now, you also, that year, the second year, is when you brought on Kemba Walker and Evan Fournier. And the stats from that year show that was not a Tom Thibodeau team, basically because of the addition of these two guys. Some of y'all still don't get it. The Knicks be showing you what they're doing. Tom Thibodeau be showing you what he's about. He really hasn't changed. in the 4 years he's been here. But some of y'all are trying to bend him to your will and put your imagination on it instead of seeing it for what it is. So the second season, the Knicks were offensive rating 22nd out of 30, defensive rating 11th out of 30, net rating, which is really one of Tom Thibodeau's things, they were 19th out of 30. And so that wasn't really them. That wasn't them at all. So they ended up winning only 37 games. But that season, you come into the season and you came in with, again, you had your starters, Fournier, Randall, Barrett, it was Mitchell Robinson, and it was Kemba Walker. So then, eventually, as we know, before they even got to the halfway point of the season, Thibodeau took Walker out, took him out the rotation completely because he could score, but after a certain amount of minutes, because he was really playing on one leg, there was diminished returns. He even had like a 40-point game. I think it was Christmas that year. So he was showing he could score, but no defense, no bueno. So that at that point, you had Alec Burke became the starter at the point guard spot. Okay. Alec Burke became the starter, and you had Emmanuel Quickley. Now you had Emmanuel Quickley, you had Obi Toppin, you had Quentin Grimes, and you had Taj Gibson playing MobbDeep that second year. Okay, Deuce was a rookie, and he was killing G League, but he wasn't getting no minutes. Deuce was getting 40 points in G League and still wasn't getting no minutes. See, some of y'all think Tyler Kolek is going to play. Y'all ain't paying attention at all. Y'all not. Okay? So this is the way Tom Thibodeau does things. So now you go to the third year, which that third season, they move Evan Fournier eventually out of the starting lineup. They got rid of Kemba Walker, and you return back to a Tom Thibodeau team, net rating +3, 7th in the NBA. Okay? Offensive rating 3rd in the NBA. That's Tom Thibodeau. Okay, so now you're in your third season. Now going into the third year, last year, the third season, last year, it was the year before last, where they actually won 47 games in the third season. So you go into that and you're looking at, let me see here, let me go pull it up. Okay, your starters going into there again, Julius Randle, RJ Barrett, Jalen Brunson. It was Quentin Grimes and Mitchell Robinson. And MobbDeep was Emmanuel Quickley. You had Emmanuel Quickley again. Now they traded Obi. You had Emmanuel Quickley going in there. I'm sorry. They hadn't traded Obi yet. No, Emmanuel Quickley, Obi Toppin. And then you had Julius Randle playing a lot of 5 on the bench unit that year. And that's why Tom Thibodeau really said later he didn't like it. He still doesn't like it because he said it wasn't effective for the Knicks with Juju playing the 5. He did not like it. And so some of y'all still was suggesting earlier that he would do that. He's already decided he didn't like it. That was the third season he went through there. They won 47 games. And then Quentin Grimes was starting. He started 66 games that year. You had Jalen Brunson's first year. So you had Grimes, Brunson, Barrett, Randall. And then you had Mitchell Robinson and Isaiah Hartenstein. Let me get this straight. Isaiah Hartenstein became MobbDeep. He only started 8 games that year. He played all 82. So MobbDeep was Obi, Emmanuel Quickley, Isaiah Hartenstein was MobbDeep. And then you started getting a little more McBride. He appeared in 64 games, averaged 12 minutes a game. But, that was it. Then he had taken Fournier out of the starting lineup. Okay, he took Fournier out of the starting line that year. So now you had Brunson, Grimes, Barrett, Randall, and you had Mitchell Robinson. And then later you had Hartenstein, but you had Mitchell Robinson starting. He started 58 games that year. Okay. So now, after that, MobbDeep got broken up. First with the signing of of Obi going to Indiana. That kind of messed it up a little bit. You still had Emmanuel Quickley, but at the same time, that was the summer Emmanuel Quickley and the Knicks did not come to an extension agreement. So that was going to make things change because Emmanuel Quickley and Obi led MobbDeep. So now Obi's gone to Indiana. Emmanuel Quickley was eventually traded. RJ was traded, right? And you end up with OG Anunoby. But now the bench is all messed up. Mitchell Robinson gets hurt. Now you're starting Isaiah Hartenstein. And so everything was in flux. And that is what caused the problem scoring that everybody noticed last season. And everybody was like, we got to do something about it. You don't make snap judgments and snap decisions. You make long-term decisions, okay? Especially if you're going to be a long-term sustainable winner. So now we had some problems last year. So now, and then Grimes was traded. So Grimes was hurt and then traded. So now you had DiVincenzo, who was going to be a major part of MobbDeep. He's starting. And of course, we know he was very successful, set the Knicks record for three-pointers, and he played two-way basketball. Then you had Josh Hart, who was going to be also part of MobbDeep. He's starting. Okay, and then because more injuries came, you end up having to start Deuce McBride 14 games, and he played 16 games. He was 20 minutes a game. He was going to be a permanent part, and still is, of MobbDeep. Okay, and now you're going into your going into your fourth season with Tom Thibodeau here. It's 41, 37, 47, 50. Now you're going to your fifth season, and now going into this camp. This is the first year since Obi was traded that you're going to have a set MobbDeep. And this is why continuity is so important. So many people don't understand still in Knick Nation what continuity means. When you start talking about trading people in your rotation, you're breaking up your continuity. When you start talking about playing rookies in the rotation of a team that just won 50 games, you're breaking up your continuity. Okay? And the Knicks are not going to do that. They're too smart for that, thank goodness. So now you're going to have Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Hart, Deuce McBride, and you're going to either have Precious or Mitchell Robinson. It depends on who the Knicks tab and sign as their backup center, who could be a starting center. So if it's Clint Capella, for example, I'm just using that as an example, because I mentioned him last week. If it's Clint Capella that gets traded for, you're going to get Clint starting, and Mitch Rob will be the guy leading MobbDeep. If they don't get a Capella or a Nick Richards, you're going to end up signing Precious Achiuwa, and he's going to be your five on a small ball MobbDeep. But the important thing is that you have Deuce, DiVincenzo, Hart. If you get Mitchell Robinson, if you get Mitchell Robinson in that second unit, they're going to be hellified, because Hart is a two-way player. He's one of, as we already know, he's at 6'4". He's one of the best rebounders in the NBA. Okay. And then he's a scorer. He's not a shooter. He's a scorer. There's a difference. A shooter is a guy like a Devin Booker with a pretty jump shot that, you can't leave open, like a Ray Allen type or Stephen Curry, because they're going to nail the spot up jump shot, a high percentage of the time. That's a shooter. A scorer is a guy that gets his points. He might get it any kind of way. He might get it on the break. He might get it off an offensive rebound. He might get his points, from the jump shot. He might get his points driving to the basket. That's a scorer. Okay. The ultimate one of the ultimate scorers was Carmelo Anthony. He could score almost any kind of place on the court and any kind of way on the court. Okay. From recent time, it was Siakam. Siakam is like that too. He's a scorer. He might knock down 5 or 8 threes in a game, whatever, but he's going to get his points. You're not going to stop him from getting his points. That's a scorer. Okay. Off the bench, Josh Hart is a scorer, and he's a two-way player. So he plays defense and offense. The scorer, real scorer on the bench, is DiVincenzo, which he was actually signed to be. But because of injuries, he ended up starting. Now you got Mikal Bridges there. Okay. So now you got DiVincenzo, and Deuce has shown, not only is he locked down on defense, but he has shown 40% shooting from three. And now, if you started paying attention, which many of you apparently wasn't, he started adding a floater to his game last year. So now you have Dante, Deuce, Hart that could all score. If you get Mitchell Robinson on that second unit with these guys, and then, of course, you're going to add a starter. And this is another thing. This is what Tibbs has been doing. Okay? It's not hard to guess if you've been paying attention. What he does is he plays his starters between 7 or 8 minutes in the first quarter. So for the last 4 or 5 minutes, he plays his bench unit, okay, with one of the starters. Then he starts the second quarter with the bench unit, and one of the starters. This is just, now he changes up a little bit, but this is about 90% what he does. Then the second quarter ends with his starting unit. The third quarter, he begins again with his starting unit, and then he goes 7-8 minutes and he plays his bench unit with one of the starters. Now at this point, he's trying to decide what combination he's going to use in the fourth quarter. Generally, he prefers to go back to his starting unit, but he will definitely mix and match based on how guys are playing and what combinations he feels are effective. Sometimes he finishes the game with mostly bench unit players in the game if he feels that that gives him the best chance to win. But he prefers to go back to his starters if he can. He prefers to do that. You know, if that's his injury, foul trouble, whatever, he prefers, especially like if with Julius Randle. Like he likes to finish with Julius Randle, whether Juju is having a good game or not. And of course, Brunson, unless Brunson is hurt, 9 times out of 10, he's going to finish the game. So Tibbs has his way. It's not going to change. He plays 9 guys. A 10th guy might get 8 or 9 minutes, but he plays 9 guys 10 minutes or more. And then depending on what the way the game is flowing, foul trouble, injuries, he'll make changes based on that. And he will play those 9 guys, even if they're down to 6 or 7, without using the 11th guy. Okay? And all of this talk about Kolek being the 10th guy, y'all misinterpreting and misapplying what Ian Begley is saying. Please do some math. I just gave you the 9 guys. Okay? And so the 10th guy is going to be Cameron Payne. That's your 10th guy. They signed him to be the 10th guy. And he's going to get minutes. Why? Because OG is definitely going to miss. Let's be conservative. OG is going to at least miss 10 games. He's going to miss between 10 and 20 games. He does it every year. OG's a 60-game-a-year player. Let's give him 65 because he want to get that full 212, right? 65, that means he missed 17 games. When OG misses a game, come on now, Josh Hart is starting. Y'all should know that. OG misses a game, Tibbs' son is now Josh Hart. He starts. Okay? When Tibbs starts Hart, Payne moves into Hart's place on the MobbDeep rotation. That's how it's going to go. And let me tell you, if them 10 guys get hurt, he'll go with 9. He'll go with 8. He'll go with 7. He has gone with 6 rather than play the 11th guy. Some of y'all need to understand that so that you don't get frustrated when you see it because it's been happening now for 4 years. That's how he does it. Okay, so that's what's going to happen this year. And for damn sure ain't no rookie playing. I'm going to tell you that right now. So he played Jacob Toppin in Orlando last year because he only had 5 healthy bodies. And he ain't playing him a lot then. Okay, so I'm trying to tell y'all need to pay attention, forget all that summer league stuff, that razzle dazzle y'all going crazy about because I'm trying to tell you, this is the real. All right, this is how it's going to go, especially when they try and get this chip. So OG's going to miss his games that he missed. Again, let's just be hopeful and say he only misses 10. Okay? So that means there's 10 games that Josh Hart is going to start and Payne's going to go into MobbDeep and get, as Ian Begley mentioned, which he corrected, but he's going to get significant minutes when that happens, and it's going to happen. Okay? And of course, we know Mitchell Robinson's going to miss games. So between those 2 guys, you know, Cam Payne's going to come into the MobbDeep. So you're going to have it. That's why we really need to get a backup center. Some of y'all mentioned DS, Cappy, as the backup center. Okay, fine. I don't know if he's going to be the backup, but I see 3rd string. If you're going to do that, just keep Jericho Sims. But we'll see what happens. You know, what I see, look, just keep Precious and Jericho Sims and move forward. If you can't get a deal for Capella or Richards, which would really solve the problem, keep what you got and just move on. I think that's what they're going to do too. If they can't get a deal for the guy that Tom Thibodeau would need to make that happen, as far as his schemes, they got 2 guys that know his schemes. So they may not be the most talented 2 guys for the position we need them for, but they know the schemes and they'll get the job done. So as Tom Thibodeau said, get in there and get the job done. That's what they'll do. So we'll see. But that's the only question mark. As far as the other 8 spots, they filled. There's no, that's what I'm saying. That's what continuity is about. You don't have to go into camp guessing, especially with this team that has been through the wars and just won 50 games, 47 the year before that. You're going to go into camp. Deuce is going to know he's going to play 15 to 20 minutes. Hart going to know he's going to play 20 to 30 minutes. DiVincenzo going to play 20 to 30 minutes. They all know what their roles are. Okay, and they know what to expect. That's what helps a bench unit perform at a higher level. Everybody knows going into the game what they're going to expect. Everybody knows going into the season there's no question mark here. See, some people are trying to create a lot of question marks. Ain't no question mark except who is going to be your backup center. That's the only question mark right now, and they're working on that. I think they got their eyes on a couple of guys, but they're trying to see if they can work the deal out. And the only thing that's holding them up right now is the dates which certain players can be traded. I know some of you don't want to hear that, but like I said, if they were going to trade anybody else but guys that can't be traded yet, the deal would have been done already. Okay, because they could get it done. But the Don got something up his sleeve. He's waiting. And when he gets where he wants, and that's what it is. Some of y'all don't understand that. Some of y'all, well, this team wants one of our players, so therefore we're sending him. Y'all speaking from a position of weakness. The Knicks ain't no weak. The Knicks is top 3 in the East, y'all. We speaking from the position of strength. It ain't what other teams want. It's what we decide we want to give them. Y'all enjoy your Tuesday. Shalom.